That's the timer. And the beauty of today is that we had a series of panels that touched on so many different topics of life, whether from gaming, whether from from Lily's presentation about how earning potential and labor versus capital has changed over the years. Now we're switching a bit again, so we're focusing away from technology and moving into a bit towards the financial aspect of crypto and blockchain for the next 2 sessions. We have 2 amazing fireside chats lined up. I don't want to take too much of your time, so Sheraz and Kraken and bunq, Konstantin, sorry, and Tom. I'm not trying to call you by your company name, but of course these are 2 really, really good companies, so,
Thanks, Nikki. Wonderful. All right, Konstantin and Tom, let's do this. So you want to, please, fantastic. All right, the crypto button is here. Exciting times. Really looking forward to understanding why we have a centralized exchange and a bank with us to debunk the myth. Pardon me for the little pun there. I kind of had to. Let's kind of go straight in. Maybe you just can give a brief intro to what Kraken and bunq is very quickly, and then we can get started.
Yeah, sure.
And to yourselves, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks so much. It's good to be back. This is like a little reunion every year. I think going from alien tokens to banking is actually the beauty of crypto. So thank you for hosting us once more. In terms of Kraken, I think most people know, I would say we're one of the leading exchanges, most trusted, and have been around for a very long time. So for us, I would say the biggest shift has been in terms of everybody's now really super active and super interested in not just talking about getting into crypto and with, let's say, banking and retail banks in general. There's now really a lot of profound interest and people are really in action mode versus, back in 2020 when I started talking to banks and, financial services companies. Everybody was talking about very abstract concepts versus now we're really shipping. My personal background, been with Kraken for 3.5 years, and prior background is also in crypto and investment management, and got into crypto back in 2016 through actually a VC expert who was shilling the blockchain technology as such. So I think we've come a long way, and this is definitely a testament of how the industry is evolving and how there's this convergence of finance that everybody's talking about. I think this is exactly what's happening today. So yeah, it's exciting.
Fantastic. Yeah, excited to hear more about that convergence. Tom, would you like to give a bit of a background about yourself?
So I guess, we're the new kid on the block in terms of crypto conference, being a bank that is coming in, talking about what we're doing here. So for anyone who hasn't heard of us, bunq is one of the largest neobanks in Europe. We're focused on building a global bank for people who live, work, and travel around the world. So for especially people living digital nomad lifestyles. And one of the problems that those people face is how they can invest and how they can access investment services. One of the things that we're doing is building out a really easy way for them to be able to access those. Personally, I'm the head of new products for bunq, so anytime we go and build something brand new, that's what I do. And I'm excited to be here today.
Fantastic. Yeah, thank you so much for giving that context, and really happy to have you here and kind of seeing that tagline of bunq being the bank for the free. I think it aligns very well with that original ethos of crypto.
Mindset.
And maybe we can get some more context here, and maybe Konstantin, you can kind of start us off a little bit about like how for yourselves, as being I think one of the most institutionally focused centralized exchanges. I mean, you've always been so reputable. If you look at kind of even, it's very hard to find even Kraken employees on LinkedIn sometimes because of that cybersecurity risk and threat that is out there, and you're so kind of, let's say, clean and well structured. Tell us more about this kind of leaning into that position, and how, tell us more about how we've gotten to this point, because I do remember a time back in the day where it would be very difficult to sit a bank and a crypto exchange next to each other.
Yeah, absolutely. I think historically, as you said, where we came from is very different to today, and I think security has always been paramount, and for us it's not just a feature, but it's actually at the core of what we do. and we get a lot of credibility because of that. So when people assess their counterparty risk, we're always top of the list. So that's nice, but it's also not enough, right? I think that's just that's the mere starting point. In terms of talking to banks, or in general, this convergence of TradFi as we call it, we've really come a long way. I remember back in 2020, there was all sorts of abstract concepts being discussed, and serious financial players or banks sort of watching the space, but nobody was really that active, I feel like. It might be different, with a few select names in, Switzerland. But overall, when I was talking to banks in Europe, the narrative was very different. It was still very early. Now, fast forward, I would say it's a different set. What we typically see is you have these digital asset teams within typically banks who are champions who want to do something. And then it's our job to together with these champions to make the change happen and to make sure that they can get the info in front of the executive committees, or to get the compliance teams on board. I think the beauty of the setup that we have here is that it's very fast. I mean, we went to market in 8 weeks. 8 weeks, yeah. I want to say. So that was fantastic. It's something that we can also replicate. The offer is somewhat standardized, which allows us to go very fast, but at the same time, it's flexible enough so that we can accommodate all wishes, and I think that's the sweet spot, and that's the beauty of it. In terms of what it is, I mean, anybody who has an app really and want to offer crypto to their clients, we can make it happen in terms of the infrastructure behind it, the custody part, the trading, everything, including licenses. We cover that. The only thing that you need to do is you basically build the front end, and I think that's also the one key takeaway for you. If you have an app, if you're in banking, or if it's related, you want to offer crypto, we can make it happen. One thing that I would be very much interested in is in terms of audience, who works for a bank, and if not a bank, does a company that you work for have an app? Just maybe a show of hands. Okay, quite a good mix. And do you guys offer crypto already, or is this something you're looking at? Looking at it. Okay, fantastic. Well then, it's a good fit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, and I'd love to come to that point a little bit more, because we always talk about what is that inflection point. Was there like a critical mass for yourselves at bunq? Because I mean, crypto has always been, let's say, the asset for all, even maybe too much for all when you look at some of the archaic side that it has. But like, at what point were yourselves at bunq like, okay, it's become legitimate enough to be acceptable to us to be able to start offering and to make all of this happen?
Yeah, it makes sense. It's our decision-making process when we go and build something is mostly about, are we solving a real problem for real people? Mm-hmm. And then, can we solve that problem? Those are like really the two things. So in terms of our strategy, we're building this global bank. We need to offer all of these financial services to as many people as we can. And we started offering stock trading last year. One of the biggest questions we get on stock trading is, when can I buy Bitcoin, right? Like there's this natural demand that exists there. And having a product where you can manage all of your various investments and savings and all of your money in one place is a really attractive proposition to people. It was something that, like, probably a couple of years ago was much harder to do in terms of actually putting that into a real regulated bank environment. And it's become much easier, also partly because of like MiCA regulation, for example. Like, as a bank, we're regulated under, the banking license laws in the EU. You can have one license, you can operate across the whole EU. That's becoming more of like the standard set, and the level just exists there as well. So we can then offer that like all to our users in a kind of a seamless way. It's a really nice experience. But mostly what we see is that there's this big group of users who are interested in investing in crypto. They say, like, this is something they're willing to explore, but they haven't done that yet. If you look at people who are actually investing in crypto, it's probably not even 15% of people who've actually done it, even though, like, at this conference, like, that might sound wild, that the number is so low, potentially. But there's a big group of people who are just kind of, like, willing to dip their toes in the water, but need a really easy experience. And that's where our expertise is. So we're not in, like building a whole exchange infrastructure and building custody and all of that kind of stuff. It's not our expertise, but we can do things that help solve the problems that are stopping these people from investing in cryptocurrency already. And that unlocks a really big market there. The kind of main reasons that people say that they're not investing yet, or the main things that are stopping them, are like a trust factor, so whether they feel safe while investing it, and a knowledge factor. So like, it's a bit complex, and they don't know what it is, and potentially they need to learn about it. And that's the kind of thing that we can really easily do in a financial education app. You're in a bank, it's a trusted environment. We can do things that we've learned from our banking experience that help it be even more trusted as well. An example of that is, and so we have a feature in the crypto app, it's called Safety Shield. And what that does is when you sell your crypto, it delays the payment for 24 hours before you can get your money. To a native crypto person, that might sound like a terrible feature. Like, why would you want that? But to someone who is like in that majority of people who are a little bit concerned about security, it's actually an extra layer, because the majority of like scams we see at that point are not really about hacking, they're more about social engineering. People get called, they're like convinced to transfer their money, and then it's gone. Having protection against that is the kind of thing that is needed to unlock those people and give them the ability to dip their toe in the water.
Yeah, and as you said about solving real problems, I think one thing that always stood out is your customers, or in general, banking customers, they're interested in crypto, and although it might be 5%, 10%, 15% of the wider group, essentially you see certain outflows, so that you can definitely measure it, right? And I think this is also that helps with aligning internally and convincing the board that this is actually something that is not just an idea, but that there's real demand, because you can see the fiat outflows to all the crypto platforms. So I think a case could be made. It's better to have this in-house and to capture the revenue, and to make sure that the user stays on platform. And this was also, I would say, a big part of it. And on top of it, absolutely. I mean, I think in terms of mindset and how we think about things, I mean, it's been an absolute pleasure working with you guys. And speed of execution is something that I think we're both very, very proud of. And going to market in 8 weeks, I mean, it's definitely something that where we have to say that the team's executed well, and when people hear it, usually it's a big plus, and people want to hear more. How is that even possible?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's nice.
Well, yeah. So let's hear more. I mean, tell us more about this. We were discussing a little bit earlier about crypto as a service, right? Can you mention a bit more about Kraken Embed? I mean, I think that's something that you've been working on quite a bit as well, right? I mean.
Yeah. So in general, the way we organized within Kraken Institution is that obviously we have the existing client segments with trading firms, bread and butter business, and intermediaries such as banks, and we've been servicing B2B and by extension B2B2C for a very long time. But now really is the time that there's so much demand, there's so much real interest that we said, okay, we're gonna take a deep dive and see what else we can do. In terms of Kraken Embed, it's just a fully scalable solution that allows you to offer crypto to your clients. So let's say you're a bank, you can come to us, basically connect through API, and your clients can buy and sell crypto on your own platform. We'll help you with everything around the whole tech stack, security, the licensing part, and also everything around how to even get organized, both from a tech standpoint, but also in very, let's say, very pragmatic terms, what the setup should look like. And as mentioned before, I think the beauty of the solution is that it is standardized, so we can go fast, but it allows for an incredible amount also of flexibility. So we looked into certain markets where we want to go first. Yes, you can basically access hundreds and hundreds of coins, but if you wanted to, you could also limit this. You can also customize your offering around who does the KYC. Is it open loop or closed loop in terms of do you want to be able to send crypto or not? So there's a lot of flexibility, but everything is embedded into this product that is actually standardized and can scale, which allows us to go super fast. And in a way, that's also the culture and the idea of the ethos around it, because just selling a solution that is 100% standardized and doesn't work for our customers, that's also not something that we want to do.
Yeah, and I mean, it's always good to be a little bit controversial as well. I mean, of course, that sounds great for Kraken, and of course, in the short term for banks, and of course for yourself, a bank, it's probably a great way to get your first toe in the short term. Now, how do you see this relationship maturing as well in the mid to long term, right? Because there is this element where you become, to a certain extent, then dependent as well on Kraken. How do you see that, the symbiosis, that partnership, the relationship growing as well over time when crypto, digital assets are more of a norm than they are today? I mean, not to put any spice kind of on the panel, but just kind of to understand, okay, how can this really work on the long term as well? Do you have a thought on that, Tom?
Yeah, I think that what we do with that will depend on how the product develops and how people use it and how the whole crypto industry develops, I think. Because if it becomes part of the payment traffic, for example, then that will be something that all banks will need to go and support, just as they do any other kind of payment method, that kind of thing. So currently what we're seeing is that it's very early days for the number of people who are even just willing to go and invest in crypto at the start. And we have quite a big opportunity just in accessing the people that are interested in dipping their toes in. That's quite a big market to grow. What happens beyond that, I think, is very dependent on what happens in the crypto industry in general.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, the way we look at it is very similar in the sense that, as you said, it's the people tipping their toes into crypto, and the, let's say, crypto native experienced trader who has 7 exchange accounts. I think that's a very different play. But if you want to stay in your trusted banking app and you want to hold some Bitcoin because it makes sense to diversify and potentially catch some upside, I think this is a very good example of an area where we're not competing but actually 100% complementing each other.
Yeah, I see. And maybe just to understand that further, because I think a lot of the audience in the room are users of Kraken. You've delivered a very high service offering over the past decade. What are you looking to do as a centralized exchange that is kind of becoming a financial institution? What are you looking to do in that medium and long term kind of horizon to maintain that kind of market share that you have today and to kind of remain as resilient as you have? Is other kind of areas in your roadmap of development or just kind of in that ethos that you're looking to kind of continue to kind of still kind of be a market leader?
Yeah, I think partnerships, just like the one here that we're discussing, and really understanding what it is that our clients want. So we look at segments and then sub-segments and do a real deep dive where we meet up with our clients and really understand what it is that they need. And I think this is a direct result of it, where we just understood that there's a real need in the market, and some of the conversations that we're having basically lead to new partnerships, to us developing new products. And I think for this audience today, I mean, the message is clear. Kraken is absolutely open for business. We're quite flexible, and I have to say, we're also shipping. If you look at let's say the pace and all the announcements in general, it's an absolute privilege. In terms of, I think what's most relevant for the audience today, though, is definitely the B2B2C space and the offering. I think crypto is 100% going mainstream, and there is this convergence of TradFi with crypto, and I think a couple of years down the road, maybe people won't even think about their finances in these terms or in these segments, right? It's really converging, and maybe people don't even want to know sort of what's under the hood. Everything has to be super convenient. It just has to work, and we've come a long way. And I think in terms of adoption, this is also what's required. I think this is also the biggest part probably to go from, just citing the numbers that you gave us, the 15%, to go from 15 to, 100. I think a lot of it is about convenience.
Yep.
Although not compromising on, security and on all the core values that we have, but.
No, indeed, but it just needs to be as easy as buying anything else is, effectively. That's what most consumers expect, and that's the way it's actually going to reach the masses.
Wow, fantastic. I think it's a great way to wrap up a fireside chat here. I think we have 0 seconds, 0 seconds. One question, half a question, no questions, very fast. Maybe there are no questions. Okay, there is one question. Please.
On what platform do you support US persons?
Yes.
There you go. It's a great and quick question. Fantastic. Thank you. All right, let's get a round of applause to our audience. Thank you so much.